Life is tough, isn't it? I've got to cycle by this scene every day. So I thought, this morning on my way into campus, let me stop for a moment and reflect a little and talk with you while looking at this. So before we chat, let me show you first what the environment looks like here. And many of you might know exactly where we are, and others, and because it's a distance class, might never have seen this. But this is the Milwaukee River, and today is a rather interesting day, isn't it? I love these beautiful days. I am reminded once of a British Air flight touching down in London, and this was the kind of weather they had. And the Englishman looked out the window and said, "Oh no, typical British weather." And the Egyptian sitting next to him looked at this and said to the Britisher, "What exquisite weather you have." And of course the Englishman was not quite sure how to take that and understand that. So in any case, let's chat a little bit about multimedia product development. You will be exposed to the core in multimedia, and what I call the core in multimedia is the different facets of multimedia. In other words, we've got text. Text is a very important part of multimedia. Text can be rendered in an environment in which it is just a picture of text. So I can take a picture of a billboard, that's text, but it's not very manipulatable because I chose a medium and an option that gives me what we call a bitmap, a square of pixels, height and width in pixels. And so that's not really sometimes the best way to deal with text. Text is obviously great if you've got it in a format like in word processing, all the likes in which you can manipulate and so forth, that you have power to really shape your message. So with text, there's the richness of fonts and message design and so forth. Message design relates to everything, of course, but in text we see that how you shape your text is very important. How much text you use, what you say, how you view it, where you view it, the color you use, the font, the size, many interesting pieces. Also touch on text because we're in a technology environment, stuff like Unicode, dealing with alphabets beyond English. And so what do we need to do if we need to use an alphabet beyond English? So understanding text in a more technical sense is also important. Move from text to images. Images splits in several areas. It has an immediate split into what I mentioned already, and that is bitmaps, which is like photos and so forth, but also vector graphics. Vector graphics is basically an algorithm that shows you how to draw your image, and so you send that instruction set over from one environment to the other. The instruction set is received on the other end, and there the actual intention is recreated. I relate to food in the sense. Food is the same way. I can either cook you up the meal, or I can send you the recipe, and you've got the instruction set, and wherever in the world you are, you can cook it up yourself. You've got what it takes. And of course, if you've got what it takes, we can do so. Just like your machine needs to be able, through its operating system and plugins and so forth, be able to get this instruction set and know what it's got to be able to take care of it. So you've got your bitmaps and your vectors. Then, and these are stills. Then from stills you move obviously to animation. And animation could be silent movies. It could be based from vectors, that 2D vectors or 3D vectors. So what's a 3D vector? That's your animation studios. They create a 3D wireframe, and then they pull a skin over it, and there you've got your 3D object that's manipulatable. And of course, with high processing that we've got today, it's really interesting to see how realistic that looks and how well that works. Obviously with bitmap animation, it's just plain video, like I'm doing right now. These are bitmaps, many little slides of bitmaps that fit together in a movie. And then what's added to this? Obviously sound. So sound is also, when it comes to film brings together a mix of many of these things. But sound in itself is also a very interesting and rich environment. And sound also splits like graphics into two. One is an instruction set that you transfer, and the other one is the actual message. So when it comes to the actual message, that's like an MP3. it's got the content in it. An instruction set that you transfer, we don't deal too much with that, but we'll touch on that and show you some examples of that. We don't do voice in that environment, you know, that's why it's used and so forth. And interesting in that context, the quality of the sound depends on the machine and the sorry, on the machine and the equipment you've got and the hardware to be able to regenerate the sound that really works for you there. So we've got sound that splits into, we've got images that split into two kind of concepts, text can split into two concepts. So that gives you kind of an overall thing, and then, you know, as I say, ways to mix text, mix that with sound, mix that with stills, mix that with animated graphics and so forth, to create a very rich environment. And then obviously bigger picture stuff. So we dealt here with technicalities. The bigger picture is obviously what is it that you're trying to communicate, what is it that you're trying to do, what platform you're using. Are you going on paper, are you going digital, are you going internet, what medium are you going to deliver it on, and, you know, specifically crafting it to your audience and understanding that environment well. And then I've alluded already to message design, which is crucial throughout. So a mouthful, but it's going to be fun. I really enjoy this course. It's a lot of fun and it's always new. And in fact, a last sentence, I hope that you will also contribute to this course as far as content and ideas are concerned. Since it changes so much, there's always something new that pops up. You might discover it before anybody else in class, so share, that we can all see where this fits in the game and make use of it. Students showing up in this class often have a wide you know, range of technical abilities, and I'm responsive to that. So I don't say all of you do exactly this. Some might be bored stiff, others might be very challenged. I have a standard that I expect from you, but within that I give you a broad range so that you can do stuff that's intrinsically interesting to you. I specifically focus on this, you know, service in this thing, so that model is really strong for you to produce a product that's valuable to somebody else. So service learning fits well into this environment, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun. Thank you.